I may have made a bit of a boo-boo. Look how well the leeks are doing. They're doing fantastic. And all the yellow bits in the middle have seemed to have disappeared and grown out, which is really good. And that's what I wanted. However, what I didn't know, because no one seemed to have told me until I messed up massively by planting them all together, they're meant to be separate. Because obviously they're going to grow into massive leeks. Therefore, they're not going to grow as they are, which means I'm going to have to split them. However, it's not a bad thing because they're now big enough to handle. It might have been easier when they were smaller, but I think, this is a bit of a dilemma. But not to worry, because I think we can do this. We're just going to have to do a little bit of surgery. They're growing over the pot, so we're going to have to get something that helps them stand up as well, I think, just so they're not like that. Also coming to this episode, we're going to do the carrots that I potted on in the pots. So these little ones here, you can see they're massive now, which is absolutely fantastic. That one isn't doing as good as the other ones, but these are doing really good. Hopefully we'll get some carrots sooner rather than later, but I'm going to put those ones in a separate pot so they grow singly rather than all in a clump together. So there we are. And for the first time last night, I left the door wide open on the greenhouse to get some air in there because I noticed there was a lot of condensation and it felt a bit stuffy in there. So that's done it some good, I feel. Never good to feel stuffy, is it? There's lots to do, and I might spread this over 2 episodes. So this is part 1 of 2 videos. Let's get into it. Now I am going to make an absolute mess if I just start tearing that apart. So I'm just going to try and find a box. Do we reckon? Will that be alright? I think it's going to be harder than it actually looks. What I'm going to have to do is gain... I have to almost tie these up somehow, won't I? Let's start by taking the label out. That's the easiest bit to do. And then I guess if I empty all of this into the box, because we want to try and get the roots out as nicely as we can. These have done so well. I'm really proud of these. Oh, that's coming out a lot easier than I thought it would. There we are. Wow. I think that was loads easier than I was expecting it to be. So what I'm going to be doing now is ever so steadily pulling gently on the roots, but not to break them all off, and just to separate them as easy as that, just so I can plant these on. To think that something this thin and small is going to be a massive leek later on. Okay, just prise them slowly from each other. What I'm doing is gently pulling away at it, and the roots seem to be just sorting themselves out. I don't think this is actually going to be as hard as what I thought it was going to be. So I think this is where it's going to get a little bit harder now, because this is where they begin to mat into each other through the massive root. I've only recently learned how to do this on... oh no. I was just about to brag how I've just recently learned how to do this, but I've just snapped it. I took all the ones around the edge. There we are. Tell you what, now I've disturbed some of the roots, it smells really oniony. It just smells exactly like a leek. I'm going to see if I can edit this for you so you don't need to watch all of this. I'm going to separate all this little clump and hopefully I get on okay. Okay, so about halfway through now, and the clump is definitely getting smaller. Right, and there we are. You can probably see that I've got a little clump just here, but I'm going to pot that up and gift that to someone else who could do with them, because I've got so many. I mean, this is madness. I do not need this many leeks. What do we reckon? Leek soup? some stir fry. What else is there? What else can you make out of leek? I don't eat leek enough. I just got carried away and bought everything whilst I was in the garden centre. And now I've got too many. Oh no. Right, so now what I've got to do is find pots big enough for each individual leek. This is mad, isn't it? I've got to find like almost 60 odd pots for each individual leek. Would little pots do we reckon? Would they grow in them? I hope so, because that's all I've got. See what we can find in here. I mean, that size would be okay, but I haven't got enough of those ones. So that one's a contender. A few more there. Got a few there. We might be okay, actually. They might be a little bit too shallow. Maybe. Sit rep. I'll just show you what I've done so far. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and a pot. I've potted those ones back up into a group, and I might give those away. The sad thing about this is, it looks like I haven't even started potting them up. Why is there still so many? What do I do with them? We're literally going to be eating leeks for the rest of our days, I think. And I'm running out of pots as well, very slowly. Look. So these are the last 4 pots there. I've got a couple under that bag. I've got the original bigger one, but I'm thinking to put those carrots in there together and then space them out a bit. I mean, I've still got all of those to do yet. I think I've bitten off more than I can chew with this one. But what's even funnier, the greenhouse is still full up of things. I mean, I'm going to have to take all of these things out so I can fit all the leeks in. What have I done? Why do I do it to myself? I don't know why I do it to myself. So I'm going to continue potting on. Would you like to see me pot on a few? Just so you can see I'm actually doing it. I'm going to need to open another bag of compost at this rate. Anyone who's done this before, is it normal for them to wilt, like, straight away? I guess they're not being held up together like they are in that one, but they've all started to wilt. I'm going to have to go to the garden centre, aren't I, and get a load of pins of some sort, and some ties as well. Gardening, it is fun. I am enjoying it. I really enjoy doing this. But when I get to a problem and I don't know how to deal with it, that's when I become a little bit skeptical of if I can actually do this, or if I've overwhelmed myself with too much. And the answer always seems to be yes, I do overwhelm myself. The potatoes are doing well. They're doing really well over there. That's fantastic. Everything else as well is doing really well. Look at that, Chinook. So we'll take this pot for instance. I'm running out of compost now, so I'm getting to the dregs of the bag. But what I'm doing is I'm literally chucking in a bit at the bottom. Not very much at all. Break up the lumps, of course, because it's Westlands compost. And then what I'm doing is I'm just putting a bit of compost. I'm tilting the pot and putting the compost up the side of the pot, just like that. Then what I'm doing is taking a leek. That sounded rude. I'm taking one of my vegetables. That sounds rude as well. I'm taking this, popping it there, and then shaking the compost over the roots. So what you can see is it's covered the roots now. Now I'm going to grab some more compost and just fill in around it. But trying to be as careful as I can because they're very, very brittle. Because if I did it earlier on, I feel like I would have broke off a lot more than what I already have. Okay, so what I've done is I've got got some compost and popped it in there because I ran out. So I'm holding this out and then just shaking the compost around it like that, keeping the leek in the middle, and then just ever so gently pushing down at the sides before giving it another shake so I know that it's evened out. And there we have it. So what I'm going to do is just continue to do the same process over and over until I've got rid of all of my leeks. You can see it's a pretty simple process I'm going through, but it's just taking some time and a little bit longer than I thought it was going to. So what I might do now is just cut straight over to the carrots. Wow, I've never tried this background before. The sky. Let's bring up the lighting on my face. There we are, so you can actually see me for a little bit. Not like you want to, it's better looking at the sky. But I'm going to start putting on these ones now. Oh, it's changed anyway. Which are the carrots, and this is the biggest one, and we're going to put it in the big pot. What I'm going to do is just space them out like this. Just like that, have a look at this. So they're spaced out nicely. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave as much possible gap that I can between them. And then I'm going to basically just fill them in with soil and then see how they get on. Take these out of the pot. Just give them a little squeeze like that. And you can see, just by looking at that, the roots as well growing inside are absolutely fantastic. I'm just going to place these inside the pot. Take the original label out, keep that in there, just so we know when these were actually done. There we are, just like that. And again, the roots on this is fantastic. Look at those. And the same again with this last one. Just like that. And again, the roots on this one, beautiful. Look at that. And the green growth on those is fantastic. Looking at those now, you can see how I've spaced them because they're meant to be, I think it's 3 inches apart anyway, like when you're pinching them. But that's in that scenario where you've grouped them all together or you've put a bunch of seeds in. And the second batch that I did, you can see are already spaced out because I already made that that commitment of doing the 3 inches between little clumps, as you can probably tell. But then we come back to this one, we can see we have a much wider gap because we've got so much more room to play with here. Get some compost from over here. Beautiful. Now I'm just going to pop that in the pot. We've just got to be mindful of how we place the compost around them. Just like that. I'm just going to gently push that in, just so I know it's firmly in there and it's not going to move away. So that's my little carrots that originated from these little pots up here. I've still got a few more leeks to do, but I think they're a little bit weak, these ones. I think I've left them out for too long once I split them, but we've got plenty here to play with. Look at all of these. What am I going to do with this many leeks? It must be a crime to have this many leeks. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly water these, and then, yeah, we'll move on to part 2. So join me in the second video, which will be coming in the next few days. See you then.